Thank you, Jess. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Vitale, co-founder of Birchal. Before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Aurora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to elders both past, present, and emerging. Yes, thank you for those comments on equity crowdfunding. You came to hear about war on plastic, but shameless plug is, most of the businesses that we host on Birchal are purposeful. And there's really a revolution in fundraising and a renaissance in entrepreneurialism that's taking place as we speak. We're really fortunate that a lot of the businesses we've hosted on Birchal have a really purposeful mission, and some of them you're going to hear from today. But you might have met a couple of the businesses that have live offers on the platform right now. So, delighted to shout out to Subpod, Sadi Allen from Subpod, if you can just raise your hand, and any questions. And if you're interested in Subpod, you can check out their profile on birchal.com. And also Loving Earth. Loving Earth is very generously supplying ethical chocolates today, and I know many of you have enjoyed those. So Don and John here, and if any of you are interested in equity crowdfunding, please have a chat to those guys and check out their profiles. But without further ado, the common theme today is the war on plastic, and there's 4 amazing founders and businesses that are really tackling this issue head on. And most of these businesses do require people's support. It requires behavioural change, and really, really keen to hear their stories today. But first, I'm going to invite Julia Kay from The Great Wrap, who's going to speak to us first. Julia. I'm just going to invite everyone up first and then introduce Julia, and then we're going to have questions at the end. But next, I'd like to invite Mike Smith from Zero Coat. I'd like to invite up Prisca Ongonga-Daehn from baresop. And last but not least, Pete Solinsky from Seabin Project. But to kick things off, I'm going to invite Julia up to speak. From a young age, Julia was drawn to all things material and design, which led her to a career in architecture. Over the past decade, she worked in the architecture industry, where her experience took her throughout Australia and Europe, designing local galleries through to schools. Working in the construction industry was a real eye-opener for her, as she saw copious amounts of waste with no clear solution in sight. For someone who grew up caring deeply for the landscape around her, this was a disturbing sight to see. She couldn't believe the amount of waste the everyday businesses were churning through, and knew something needed to be done. I'm looking forward to hearing Julia's story and all about Great Wrap. Thank you. Round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro. It's really funny hearing your own bio while you're sitting up on stage. But look, I'm Julia Kay, co-founder of Great Wrap. We make compostable stretch wrap. We make it from food waste. We make it locally at our factory in Melbourne. The journey for us, stretch wrap is sort of like a random problem to be tackling. You might be thinking, like, how did you kind of arrive at this sort of material? So I just thought, we'd kind of tell you about how we sort of landed on this. So I think working in architecture, I spent all of this time looking into sustainable materials, where the timber I was using was coming from, where the bricks were made, how much carbon was embodied within those materials. And then I'd go out onto site and see them wrapped in all of this petroleum-based plastic wrap. And for me, it just seemed like this crazy material that no one was thinking about. And I remember, I walked into a supplier's warehouse, and it was, like the size of this room, which is massive, times 6, stacked with pallets, just all wrapped in petroleum plastic wrap. And I said to the floor manager, I said, okay, what's going on with all of this plastic wrap? What are you doing with it? And he just said to me, look, we just put that straight into landfill because it's really hard to recycle and we can't do anything with it. And I think, moments like that over a series of years really just sort of added up to when Geordie and I decided, so Geordie was making wine and shipping wine all around the world. And we decided that maybe this was our problem to tackle. We thought, look, if we can shift what pallet wrap is actually made of, we can potentially have a profound impact on plastic waste. It's the connector of all business. So, I had a conversation with one supermarket chain, and they use enough stretch wrap to circumnavigate the globe 10 times each year alone. There's 150,000 tonnes of it going into landfills every year. It's just ridiculous. So, look, this sort of led us to kind of figure out what is the solution. Like, we know recycling is really important, but like, we're humans, we make mistakes. Sometimes things don't go into the right bin. There has to be a better way. So we really saw, compostable materials as the future for us. If you can sort of take a waste feedstock and turn that into a polymer that can then return carbon to soils, that just seems like an incredible way to go. So look, we thought, let's test the market, see if this kind of sticks. And so that's us with some cling wrap, very fun. So we thought, let's trial this sort of formula that we've been working on. We partnered with Monash University to sort of work on this in the initial stages. And we learned really quickly that if you want to make a really good product and have control over everything that's going into it, it's hard to do unless you can make it yourself. So we actually, we went and raised a little bit of investment and set up our pilot facility. And I've put this picture in here because there's a picture of the scale we're at now, and I just wanted you to get that for reference. That's where all of the first rolls of Great Wrap were made. So if you ever saw a roll, this arrived in a shipping container with absolutely no instructions, and we just kind of figured out how to put that together. Obviously with our amazing team. So I guess the next step for us was okay, we see compostable materials as the future of solving this plastic problem. How do you communicate that with people when you're selling a B2B product like pallet wrap that's really not that exciting? It's hard to create a community or tell a story around pallet wrap unless you've worked in a DC or the back of a warehouse. Not many people have actually seen the problem. So I think for us, we saw that there's opportunity to go into people's homes with the For Home product. Every house has a kitchen. Everyone can touch and feel this product and understand that it's been made from potato waste, and we can sort of expect more from our materials. And I think that is sort of, I guess, I'm sure all of us will talk about how you engage and create a community around something that you're really trying to change, but it's been really critical, and it's been a way in which we've been able to sort of drive demand and see pushes from those bigger businesses that are actually the ones putting all of this plastic into landfill anyway, and it's been driven by consumers. So really great to see. That's just so I guess for every kilo of petroleum pallet wrap made, there's 2.6 kilos of CO2 put into the atmosphere. So for us, that's obviously a shocking statistic. And so the opportunity that we're working on at the moment in converting potato waste into PHA will mean that we can actually sort of push towards a fully circular model. So this is our factory now, and that's the same machine that we were sitting on before. But so essentially what we do there is that's where we manufacture Great Wrap, and we've got a fully we're in the process of engineering a biorefinery, which will mean that we can actually take potato waste on site and convert that into a biopolymer, and then manufacture it into a stretch wrap, which can then be composted and sort of complete that circle and return that carbon to soils. So that's kind of where we're at with the process to date. That's also, there's a warehouse with heaps of pallet wrap if you haven't seen one. We sort of said we were actually going to talk about challenges as well, all four of us, 5 of us as founders, we often hear these really beautiful, glossy stories of what being a founder's like, that there are obviously really, really hard things that you go through every day trying to keep a business afloat, manage a team, reinvent a material. It can kind of sort of get you down. And I think I just thought that some of the things that I'd really noticed for us, we've been through 3 investment rounds now. So we just did our Series A in May. And although there has been a lot of excitement about Great Wrap from the Australian market, I think about 40% of our investors have been from overseas. And it seems as though the beautiful country that we are, it sort of shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't have to go to America or Singapore to be raising capital for advanced manufacturing, reinventing materials. And that's sort of been hard to face, I think. And then female founded businesses, I think the stat last year is 1 to 2% of funding actually goes to female founded businesses, which is just horrific. So I'll just leave you with that number. Can definitely change. And that's it from me. That's a picture of my beautiful team wrapped in some pallet wrap. It really does hold things together. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Well done. Thanks so much, Julia. An amazing story, and there'll be opportunities for questions at the end. But before that, I'm going to invite Mike Smith, CEO and founder of ZeroCode, to join us. So a couple of words before Mike joins us. Shaping a better world, trailblazing entrepreneur, adventurer, not-for-profit founder, founded 3 startup companies in the surfing, wine and sustainability fields, and as well built 2 schools in Myanmar, and also the record holder for the equity crowdfunding industry, the first company to hit $5 million in around 7 hours, this time last year.
Yeah, it was.
Broke the internet and our platform in the process. But an amazing story, and keen for you to share it now, Mike.
Thanks, Matt. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody? Can we get another round of applause for Julia? I reckon Julia's awesome. I think the Great Wrap is a really important company, and we are rooting for you guys from the sidelines. So thank you, and thanks, Matt, for the introduction. I'm a bit of a wanderer when I talk, so I might end up pacing around a little bit. Before I start, can I just get a show of hands here who is a ZeroCode customer or who is maybe a ZeroCode shareholder, just so I get a bit of a feel for who's here. Okay, awesome. Do I have some slides here? I do. So for those of you who don't know ZeroCode, we make a range of personal care and home cleaning products, stuff that everyone in this room uses every day in their house. Things like shampoo, conditioner, laundry liquid, dishwashing detergent, and we deliver it direct to Aussie homes, minus all the single-use plastic, in a truly zero-waste business model. We exist to solve the global plastic problem, and this is how we do it. Our business model starts by going out and collecting plastic and rubbish out of the ocean and off beaches. We take that plastic, we process it here in Australia, and we turn it into what we call a forever bottle. This is an example of our shampoo bottle. When you become a ZeroCode customer, you buy a forever bottle and you directly fund large-scale ocean cleanups. This then becomes the last bottle of shampoo that you ever own in your life. You keep this in your bathroom and you refill it for the rest of your life using the world's first reusable refill pouch. So you fill up your forever bottle with your refill pouch, then you send the refill pouch back to us, we clean it, we sanitize it, we refill it, and we send it back out to another customer. So why do we think this is a really awesome solution? To solve the global plastic problem, we all have to do 2 things. First of all, we have to stop making single-use plastic. As long as we keep producing more single-use plastic, we can recycle all we want, we can do as many cleanups as we want. As long as more single-use plastic is coming into the system, the pile is just going to get bigger. So job number 1 is stop single-use plastic being made in the first place. The second thing we need to do is work out a way to clean up all of the rubbish that's made its way into our natural environment. If we do those 2 things globally, we can solve this problem. And that is exactly what the ZeroCode business model is built to do. Our reusable refill pouches stop single-use plastic being made in the first place because you send them back, they get cleaned and refilled, and then our forever bottles deal with funding ocean cleanups. So we launched our business less than 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years next month. And in that short amount of time, we have now pulled over 1.1 million water bottles worth of rubbish out of the ocean that have been made into our forever bottles, purchased by Aussie households and funded ongoing cleanups. Thank you. We've also stopped almost 1.7 million water bottles worth of rubbish from being thrown in the bin as a result of customers returning their pouches to us to be cleaned, sanitised and refilled. And we have now just ticked over 70,000 Aussie households who have purchased products from us. So look, we are incredibly proud of the work that we have done, but we also realise that it is very early days and the problem is massive, and we have a commitment to being the world's most sustainable and the largest personal care and home cleaning brand on the planet. That's where we're headed. Today, I wanted to spend some time talking to you guys about the 5 most important lessons that I have learned over the last 2 years from building one of the fastest growing zero waste brands in Australia. The first lesson that I learned is that everybody wants to be part of the solution. I think we've entered this really exciting time in society here in Australia and globally where large-scale public debate, vitriolic debate about the problems that we face as a planet are kind of behind us, right? We've all reached a consensus, I believe, that we face big problems and that humans are a big part of those problems, and broad selections of people right around the world now want to be part of the solution. The first bit of evidence for that from my learning was when we first came up with this idea, we knew we'd need about $1 million just to get this idea off the ground before we could make anything. So we went out and we did a Kickstarter campaign. I'd never run a Kickstarter campaign, and I actually reached out to Pete, who I didn't know at the time, who'd run a successful one before me, to ask for some advice. So thanks, Pete, for helping me get underway. We put a Kickstarter campaign out into the world. We said, hey, we've got this crazy vision. We don't have a product yet, nothing exists, but this is what we're going to go and do, but we can't do it without your help. We had over 7,000 or almost 7,000 Aussie households pre-order a box of our product that didn't exist, which allowed us to raise 750 grand to go and put this thing into production. And of those 7,000 households, 87% of those had never backed a Kickstarter campaign before. It was great-grandparents in regional Australia through to inner-city hipsters in Sydney and Melbourne. It was everyone. It was a whole cross-section of the Australian public. And it filled me with so much joy and so much energy to know that there's a huge community of people out there across a broad diversity of people that want to be part of solutions. The second example for that for me was, as Matt talked about, this time last year, we went out to our customers and we said, hey, we're going to raise some money to help us grow the business, and we would like you guys to be a part of that. We had about 8,000 people pre-register for our equity crowdfunding campaign. We actually ended up crashing the Birchal website because there was so much demand. The first half an hour, the website went down. There were people calling us, emailing us. It was a pretty crazy day. And we ended up raising $5 million and becoming the fastest and largest equity crowdfunding campaign in Australian history. Again, people from all walks of life. I think it was over 80% of our backers had never backed an equity crowdfunding campaign before. So people want to be part of the solution. If you build a solution, the people will come. That's a really powerful lesson that I have learned. The second lesson, and probably the most powerful one that we live and breathe every day, is the power of radical transparency. And if you haven't read Ray Dalio's book, Principles, buy that book. It's an incredible read. This is where the concept of radical transparency comes from. And the philosophy is, if you've got nothing to hide, then you shouldn't hide anything, right? And the more that we have pushed the boundaries of being transparent and being open and putting things out into the public sphere, the more trust we have garnered from our community, because people realize we're not bullshitting, because we're putting everything out into the world. This is an example of a moment in time that we call on our philosophy of radical transparency, and it really paid dividends for us. So we're based in Byron Bay. Earlier this year, we had some pretty crazy floods. We have a third-party warehouse that stores all of our pouches that get returned to us from customers before we clean them. We got a call one morning saying the flood had gone through the factory and our pouches were everywhere. We got in the car, we drove to the factory, we got there, and literally our used pouches were in the river out the back of the factory. They were in the nature reserve. They were on the street. Catastrophe for a company that's trying to solve the single-use plastic problem, right? Not only did we have returned pouches that couldn't get used, they were polluting the environment. Most companies wouldn't tell anyone about this. They just go and clean it all up and hide it. We got straight onto the internet, filmed an Instagram video, put it out into the world and said, hey, this stuff's just happened. We're going to come clean and tell you exactly what's happened, and here's a solution to fixing it. We live and breathe this stuff every day. We've had lots and lots of successes as a business in a short amount of time, but we've had a lot of stuff-ups as well, and we make sure that we communicate successes and failures all along the way, and people love us for it because we are real, we are humble, we are honest, we are radically transparent. The third lesson is don't take yourself too seriously. For those of you who have maybe seen me on the internet, you might have seen me in this stupid dolphin suit. Look, one of the things we've learned about trying to solve big problems in the world is that it can often be overwhelming, it can be daunting. And I think we need to move away from this old model of sustainability marketing where you bash people over the head with the problem and try and guilt them into doing the right thing. We have a belief that if you can make someone smile, or better yet, laugh while they're doing something good for the planet, you have a chance to engage them over the long term. And we need to engage lots and lots and lots of people over the long term. So we don't take ourselves too seriously. I don't take myself too seriously. We never bash people over the head about the mission, and we're always happy to take the piss out of ourselves. I was actually going to wear this suit today, but it was broken. We put it on last night and the zipper had broken, so I didn't get to dress up in the dolphin suit today. I'm sorry. Lesson number 4 is we need everyone to dare greatly and don't be afraid to ask. It's a personality trait I come across all the time. People being too afraid to ask something audacious, to ask somebody to do something for them, to ask people to do something that they feel like they can't ask the question for. This is a picture of me and Malcolm Turnbull kayaking in Sydney Harbour. I grew up in a small town called Sawtell with 5,000 people on the north coast of New South Wales. I went to a public school. I don't come from a politically connected family. I have no right to go kayaking in Sydney Harbour live on TV with Malcolm Turnbull. But in the early days of Xeroco, we had no money to do marketing. We had to come up with crazy stunts. So we put the feelers out and to see if we could find Malcolm Turnbull's email address. We ended up getting his email address from a friend of an investor. I cold emailed Malcolm Turnbull and said, "Hey Malcolm, my name's Mike Smith. I'm trying to solve the global plastic problem. I've got this idea to kayak in Sydney Harbour with a lifetime supply of single-use plastic. Will you come with me? Here's my phone number." The next day I get a call from a number that I don't recognise, and on the end of the line, "Hi, this is Malcolm Turnbull. I'd love to come kayaking with you in Sydney Harbour," right? Because of that, we had Sunrise come down, ABC News come down, Channel 10 come down, do a live feed. We got a whole bunch of customers on board, and we raised a whole bunch of awareness about single-use plastic. That never would have happened if I'd have been too afraid to ask the unaskable, right? So today I've got an ask for everyone in this room. I want every single person in this room to make a pledge they're going to stop using single-use plastic at their homes. This is the moment you all get your phones out and take a photo of this screen and go to xeroco.com.au and enter purpose into checkout, all in capital letters, and I will shout you guys $20 off your first order. So we all have to work together to solve this problem. I'm going to leave you with one final lesson from my favourite band of all time, Rage Against the Machine. It has to start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now? Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for Mike. Thank you. I remember that Rage Against the Machine quote really well because he tried to get it in the offer document, and I think we're going to have trouble getting them to approve the consent for being quoted in the document. But anyway, lost it. Okay, so now I'd like to invite Prisca Ongonga-Daehn from baresop. Prisca started her career as an environmental journalist, always questioning, always curious. She then followed the traditional path to public relations, marketing and consulting for some Fortune 500 companies. Her interest for designing products that improve life led her to start an organic, sustainability-sourced luxury cashmere brand when organic and sustainability sourced were not a thing. Prisca is now the founder and CEO of baresop, and we're really keen to hear her story. And welcome to the stage. A little bird also told me that it's Prisca's birthday today.
Stop
round of applause. Happy birthday, Prisca.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Aww. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Is my mic on? Yeah, it's on. Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Super thrilled to be here today. I'm Prisca. I'm the founder of baresop. We are a circular economy, closed loop personal care startup that's really solving the big problem of waste, plastic, and CO2 in specific to the bathroom. And it's a huge problem. So I'm super happy to have my collaborator, Mike, so we can all solve this big problem, and we need more solutions to this. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional lands in which we are working today and pay my respect to elders present, past, and emerging. To start, I'd love to play a video of, just to give you a capsule of why we exist.
1 million bath and body space plastic bottles are being bought every minute across the world. This means over 1.5 billion single-use plastic bottles are ending up in our landfill, leaving a lasting impact on our planet for years to come. Hi, I'm Prisca, the founder of Birchal.
Thank you. Right, I think there's another slide. Right, so why the bathroom, right? For us, we saw the bathroom as one of the spaces that actually is creating a lot of waste in the home. And why is that? Imagine the global population of 7.7 billion on average. Now imagine each one of us having a shower and washing our hair and our hands. Now imagine the amount of waste that's producing a day, right? And not to forget that these products come in single-use plastic bottles, and they also come in diluted water. So you're literally shipping dense diluted water across the globe. It makes no sense. And that's really how we came into this space. Like, how do we take out the big problem of the water out of the product? So you literally just buying the 5 gram of powder and you just add your tap water at home. So that's how we started, and knowing and realizing that the bathroom is a big space that's creating waste. I wanted to touch on why, from our insights and experience, we have found out that empathy to user experience is going to be a key part of activators creating change in the space. Like, how do we innovate solutions that actually is empathetic to the human experience? Because how can we solve the problem of the plastic if we are not empathetic to humans, because they're the ones who are using those products? And this links into a number of things, including are we empathetic to the fact that those products have to work? Because if they don't work as well as your traditional product, people are not going to use it. Is it convenient? Are we empathetic to the lifestyle that we currently have as humans? You know, we have so many things going on. And I feel like if we do not touch on those blocks, we are not going to get to where we want to get to faster. And that's something I'm sure we think about, I'm sure Mike also think about. But lastly, I wanted to touch on something that's very important to me, which is really part of why I'm on this journey and why I'm so thrilled to be here today, and that's the impact piece. And this is something I think about every day, and something actually is leading a lot of what we do at baresop. Can I have the next slide? Cool. So we feel and know that the impact piece to the solution to plastic is actually 90% of that pathway. Because, again, going back to, and I know we are all here for all kinds of impact and purpose issues, and plastic is one of them, and that's what we're doing. But what about the shared humanity problem? How can we, as somebody who actually has nothing, they're going through floods, they're going through droughts, they're going through poverty, they have nothing to eat, and we want to ask them to think about planet solution. So I think solutions that are coming out as innovators, as creators, as tech coders that are bringing the solutions, I believe we cannot leave that behind. We cannot solve the planet issue as a singular. And so that's why at baresop, our metrics are really geared towards how are we going to be impactful as we grow? How are we going to be looking at the grassroots that actually need that impact most? How do we not have like a helicopter view to solution? So that's a question I'll leave with you, but it's something that is I feel I'm very passionate about, and that's the shared humanity and planet problem is one problem. It's not two problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Prisca. Finally, I'd like to invite up Pete Zielinski, the CEO and co-founder of the Seabin Project. Pete's been around the ocean his entire life. Along with the development of the Seabin Project as a business, Pete's heavily involved in technical design and development of the products. The Seabin Project is far more than a product. The ultimate goal is to have pollution-free oceans for our future generations. To get there, they're working to optimise the technology and scale their operations globally. The Seabins are powerful communication tools in their educational programs, which they feel is the real solution. Welcome, Pete.
Thank you, everybody. Well, I'll just move this. I'm a wanderer as well. And when I start freestyling, that's when I get into my stride. I'm normally really nervous, introvert, extrovert. I'm very nervous right now. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the tribe. If you look around, there is some amazing people doing some epic shit. Everybody in this room is here for a purpose, and I'm pumped. I'm also scared because this is my tribe. I'm more worried about the people that are not here in this room. So this is the challenge. We are a minority. It's power of communication, technology, innovation, better business, empathy, leadership, and converting the mass to join our tribe. So let's do it. This is me. This is going to be a timeline of my hair. And I get to cheat, so Pete up here is going to talk for a minute. If there was some sound. Hi, I'm Pete Zielinski. This is Marco's. I'm not sure if we've got any sound. That's a jar of microplastics. This is Sydney. This is the Opera House. So floating plastic pollution affects global cities I didn't actually have any notes on this, so Sydney is the first city in the world to filter and monitor microplastics 24/7. Over 70 tonnes of plastic pollution has been captured since July 2020. I'm missing it. 14 billion litres of water has been filtered. Over 1.6 million plastic items collected, microplastics. That's a watering can. Envirotechnicians are servicing the units daily around Sydney Harbour and are also community ambassadors. Critical data is obtained from the trash, and that's Sydney as well. The data is used to improve the water quality of Sydney Harbour to achieve a common goal by the city to be swimmable by 2050. This is our marine scientists, this is our microplastics lab. There we go. We nearly got this. Addressing something, smarter cities and cleaner oceans. Bicycle, dolphins. And thank you to our sponsors, because we don't actually have any buy-in from the city to do this. But I'll get to that. That's on like slide something else. I've never done this before in my life. This is my first rodeo. I didn't pay tax for 16 years because I lived overseas. I got back to a hefty tax bill. If anyone leaves, you have to register, otherwise they smash you. So, my man crush is Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. He wrote a book. It's all about how to build a business like Patagonia. He's a billion-dollar businessman. He gave away the company. I'm not doing that, but I do want to go surfing and make $1 billion and create impact and change the world. I want to buy a house for my kids. I don't want to rent. I would like a Rivian electric vehicle because I have a $4,000 Nissan X-Trail with a cracked head gasket. I don't know how I'm getting back from the Gold Coast airport to Byron tomorrow. To keep us on track, Sustainable Cities and Communities, SDG Goal 11. If we can have better informed communities, we would have less problems, and it's not even about waste. It's about all of our problems because humans are so bad at screwing shit up. Life below water, this is how we stay on track, get credibility, build proof of concept, to go to the city and say, hey, this shit is legit. Next one. Another man crush. Daniel Epstein of Unreasonable. Future titans of the world are companies solving the world's toughest problems because more value is created than just money. And because I built these slides, I have the power. I put my own quote in. It's community-driven solutions that will solve the world's greatest problems. If you don't have the community backing you, the city, the government, whatever, they won't listen. You're one voice, you need 2,000, 3,000 voices. We use Birchal to raise $3 million and get 2,600 investors that are lobbying our mission. You can't not ignore that when you're running for mayor. This is me again, another haircut. We had just been recognised in the top 100 innovators of Australia. I didn't know, a friend had let me know at midnight, you're in. I'm like, yeah, you're full of shit. And it was legit. Mike, also, there's a ton of us, there's a heap of people, but the best thing about this is that it's the environment and human behaviour and impact that is our platform. We're next to Canva. They're selling widgets and graphic design. We're fixing the planet and we're up next to them. That's epic. This is a before and after. What we do is very visual. Before and after is self-explanatory. This is 2,080 microplastics that we captured in 24 hours in Sydney Harbour. 73 tonnes we've collected of microplastics and all sorts of nasties since 2020. 14 billion litres of water we've filtered. 6 full-time jobs created. It's epic. This is how we do it. We have a tech partnership with IBM. We have an app we're building, the dashboard, the CBin. I'm going to run through this. We've got a cloud. There's magical things happen, and it's all connected. We punch out impact reports that look like not that. They look like something, but it's not that. So this is our operations in Sydney. We have 31 CBins in the water. We have envirotechs. There's 4 of them full-time. We have lab scientists at the Maritime Museum. There's 2 full-time marine scientists focusing on microplastics. We have water quality happening in different areas, citizen scientists. volunteers, corporate data sessions, corporate STEM lessons, corporate cleanups. School presentations are my favorite. We take the ocean to the classroom with community outreach. We split our business model into, oh, there's the slide. So all the data comes into the dashboard. I found an animation button in PowerPoint about a month ago. I hope it works because I've just exported a graph in a PNG, EPS or a PDF. It's gone to Finder. I don't know what happens on a PC. I haven't used that since '96. We hit the magic button and it animates and it slides, drag and drop. From there, you drop it into an impact report, you give that to marketing, whoever, put it into ESG, annual reporting, put it on your social media. The pollution index is amazing because we took a bit of inspiration from Spinal Tap, the band, if anyone doesn't know. They put 11 on their amps. I wanted 11 on something, so we put it on an index so we can filter the water and understand where we are. Sydney's number 5. We're not doing too bad. We can do a lot better. From here, we realised that we can predict the weather. We can predict litter forecasting because we know what happened historically. We can then take that and put it onto a weather dashboard. This is our microplastics lab. It's a 40-foot container. It's got scientist and sciencey things in there. We're buying a microscope soon. Apparently, we don't need one. It's more for marketing. I like it. This is our volunteers that are helping us weekly, fortnightly. There's a ton of them. This is the bullshit we get from the city. This is a parking ticket. I hate them, but I love them. We get a not my problem, you can't prove it's ours attitude from the City of Sydney and the City of LA. This is the parking ticket, I said that, but it's got their name on it. It's got the date and time of offence. It's got the cross-sectional street. It's a geotagged piece of litter that comes into the stormwater drains and 48 days later it spews out into the water, and we mapped it with Google Maps. The red dots are C-bins, the blue dots are parking tickets. That red line is what I screenshotted off their website and put it onto ours, and that's the stormwater drain area catchment 30. We started in Sydney. We figured we could do this in 100 cities. And so we launched in LA, and fuck, I forgot something. Give me a minute.
Sec. How good's that? Parking tickets. Not our problem. Clearly is. What are you doing, Pete? Round of applause for Pete. Where's Pete? Woohoo! Hey!
Matt, get this girl off stage.
Come on.
Yeah. Oh my God. Saving the ocean's so hot right now. So we went to LA, we wanted to make some noise, we wanted to take us serious, but not too serious, but we needed to stand out. So we reinvented our logo like this. And on the plane, I spent 14 hours trying to invent how the fuck would we stand out in LA with a bunch of peacocks, you know? We've got to like get above it. And so I'm Jackson Dynamite and I'm here to save the ocean. And so we made 2 little videos. They're pretty funny. I hope the sound works because I need it. Yes. So that's our American team. That's Brian, Andy, Scott. We're operating in Marina del Rey. It's the second largest marina in the world, and there was so much stuff in the water. When we did this, we needed to make a bit of noise because we made an assumption that all this epic momentum would just naturally transfer to Los Angeles, but it didn't. So we hired Compass Studio, gratuitous plug over here. Luke, talk to him for comms. This is an ad we haven't run yet. We're about to. There we go. Because we couldn't afford a billboard. Can I get a hell yeah? So, CBIN is recognised by United Nations as a prevention and, oh God, I've forgotten it, monitoring device. We're in the United Nations. I think that's what I'm trying to say. United Nations environment. No, I fucked it up because I haven't got my glasses and I can't see shit. It's the Decade of Ocean Science. We're in the United Nations, as I explained. We're working with the Sustainable Development Goals. We're elevating others to... We provide impact for corporates, for businesses through what we do. We're also working with the US EPA currently to assess that CBIN is a genuine monitoring and prevention capture device, which will then be spread out through the 52 states as a best practice. Just a small thing. So self-funding our operations isn't sustainable. We've actually used our own money to do all this. We've spent more than $3 million in the last few years. We've got $80,000 from the city. That's great, but it's not. We need buy-in from the top. We have a corporate partnerships program. We have community. We have all sorts of stuff going on. It's great from the bottom up, but there's vacancy at the top where we need it, because we can't keep cleaning up what the city cannot keep out of the water. If anyone is in LA in 2 weeks, I'll be there at the Equity Crowdfunding Conference as Jackson Dynamite, and that's me. Phew.
Thanks, Pete. Thank you. All right. I'm sure lots and lots of questions. Where did it go from there?
How do you follow up?
Right?
Change gears.
You can wear the wig if you want.
No, I'm fine. But look, I thought now is probably a good discussion on all of your journeys as founders, because as we've heard from all of you, a really important mission that requires support from lots of people, and I think that's particularly challenging when you're trying to drive mass behavioural change, but also start a business at the same time. Maybe Julia, if you could kind of start with some of the challenges that you've faced in growing Great Rap and kind of getting your message out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we've only got this session, but I could be here all day because there's a lot of challenges. But I think one of the biggest things that we've found really hard. I mean, I know I mentioned some of the challenges in that sort of my chat earlier, but look, for us, it's been really hard to, I guess, manage building a business in a sustainable way when the problem that we're trying to solve really feels like a race. For us, we don't feel like we have time to sort of, grow slowly or solve this problem at a pace of a normal business. We want to be a high growth venture because the problem is so urgent. But sort of, navigating that when you've got, investors and a team to manage, that becomes a challenge. And I think something that as founders we probably all grapple with. You know, we want to be 10 years down the track, or you know, we struggle probably to enjoy the moment we're in right now. Like, we're all doing amazing, like Jackson Dynamite's absolutely killing it. You know, so I think that'd be probably, would you guys agree?
Yeah.
100%.
Prisca?
I would definitely agree with that. And the other aspect of that is because the problem is so big and you feel you have an opportunity and a responsibility to it. And how do you then balance that and the urgency of it and your own life, right? And you can't have both. One of those things have to go, and normally becomes your personal life, or your, you know, basically your life becomes your work life, and that obviously starts to affect your other aspects of your life. But I don't know any founder that can say that they have a balanced life. I don't know one, but maybe if there is one.
Let's have a chat after.
There's a unicorn.
Oh, there's one at the front.
So we'll just get you a mic. Can you repeat that comment just so everyone can hear?
My theory is it's not about balance. That's impossible. It's about integration. And as a mother of two and a CEO, it is about integrating all of that together. And sometimes you don't get it right. And your kids are screaming at you, look at me, I need attention. And other times your staff are screaming at you, look at me, I need attention. So, but it's integration. And I think that's what we have to do as all leaders, but also for parents and anyone who's caring for others, I would say.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
My challenges, and the irony of it is reinventing myself. Get it?
That again.
The real challenge was I've never done this before. I didn't know what to do. My greatest superpower is not Jackson Dynamite. It's naivety and optimism and a thirst for personal and professional development, because I thought we were just going to clean up. I didn't know it was education that was the thing. I didn't know about data. I trust things I can kick. You know, data's not a tangible thing. It pissed me off because everyone's talking about data and we're busy cleaning up. But people don't take you seriously without data. Mm-hmm. And the other challenge that I have is, like, because I've never done this before, I'm alienating myself from, I'm not making friends, I'm doing this, I'm trying not to be a distanced father, but I'm doing epic shit. And it's like, how do I go for a surf? How do I do all this? And how much do you do? You shouldn't have to reinvent yourself too much. Outsource, get people in, find the talent, manage your strengths, manage the weaknesses.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a good rant.
How about you, Mike? Like, I mean, it's all well and good to be up here. I mean, these are great events, you know, and I think we all kind of feed off the positive energy and they're really important. But I know myself, like, ups and downs. And even, you know, at the moment, it seems like the last few years have just been a series of constant blows and, you know, you're always needing to find more. But, you know, how are you going?
It's been interesting because we launched our business just before COVID happened, right? So we did our Kickstarter campaign and we were due to deliver product and then like in June, and then COVID happened in March, right? So our entire business has existed. Like we don't as a business know a world before COVID. So it's been really crazy, right? So we had 2 years of COVID, shutdowns, lockdowns, global supply chain issues. Then we had fires in the Byron area, and then we had floods. So like our entire business has just existed in this world of chaos. And so I think we've become really resilient as an organization. We're still a small team, there's like 25 of us, but we've all just lived through a crazy, like the last 2 years has been wild.
Yeah.
And so I think we've built resilience, but I think one of the challenges as a result of COVID and the kind of operating environment and us being in Byron Bay and wanting to build a business in a small town has been getting talent, you know, and it's every business on the planet is having talent problems at the moment with, you know, borders being closed and that kind of stuff. That's been a really, really key challenge for us. And we grew so quickly, right? Like we went from no customers to doing $1 million a month in revenue in like 7 months. Like it was crazy astronomical growth. And we just needed to hire a whole bunch of people and we needed really, you know, top quality people to help us scale this thing. It's really hard to do in a small town in the middle of a pandemic. So it's been a real challenge for us, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. And Prisca, like what's keeping you up at night? Like some of the challenges that you're having at the moment?
Right. Thank you. I think for us, the main challenge I may have mentioned, and that is how do we make sure that we are actually solving the planet and the human problem?
Yep.
And are we actually doing it right? And we've actually had a challenge trying to find who are those collaborators that we can work with, and we have the same, to actually deliver a grassroots solution and not like, we'll donate some money and go, give it to people that we actually don't know where they are, we're just doing it. But because it's so important for me personally as a founder, I'd love it to be an in-person impact. I'd love to know that, it went to this community and this is how it impacted them and how is that going? So I think that's a challenge. So that keeps me up because I feel like I'm not actually doing what we exist to do properly as I'd like us to do it.
Yeah. And I suppose I want to talk about like funding as well, because you're all businesses that have in market and kind of scaling, and you've described some of these challenges that you're having. Two of you, obviously have crowdfunded on Birchal, and that's a newer source of fundraising. But I'm just keen for you to share some of your experiences, because early stage businesses are capital hungry and you need to think about where you're going to find them. And I know you've all kind of done things a little bit differently. Maybe we can start with you, Julia.
Yeah, sure. So we've been through three rounds of investment. As I sort of said, we just did our Series A in May. So we've got I think we've raised now a total of 26 million, combination of equity and debt. So we obviously use the debt to finance our machinery, so we don't want to be giving equity away to have a machine. But I think for us, we've pitched now to hundreds and hundreds of investors, and there is capital out there. But whether it's the capital that is going to be aligned with your vision and growth, it's relatively emerging in the impact space. We just sort of got back from the US, and there's so many people saying that they are investing in better for you and climate solutions. But when you sort of probe that, it doesn't actually ring true or is not authentic. So I think that's sort of been a challenge, because we want to grow a business with people that we love working with, and we have some incredible investors. Some of them are in the room, so thanks for coming. But we've had this amazing journey with people who have become mentors, and that's really how it should be. It shouldn't just be about the capital. It should be about how you can grow together and what you can learn from those people. So I think that's a challenge, and I'd love to see more impact investors who truly mean that, really.
Awesome.
Yeah, I echo that. We've pitched to every single impact investor group, network, fund over multiple rounds. So we've done 3 rounds now as well, and not a single impact investor has invested in our business, despite the biggest VC funds in Australia doing that, and 3,500 everyday Aussies doing that, and a whole bunch of high net worth individuals. So, hand on heart, I'm a bit disappointed in the level of impact investing that is actually going on into businesses that are having genuine impact. We've done a whole bunch of stuff. We pulled over 1 million water bottles of rubbish out of the ocean, and we've built a really fast growth company. We've done $20 million of sales since we launched, but it's still not good enough for an impact fund, but it's good enough for VCs and it's good enough for the public. So I think there's this interesting dichotomy in the sustainability and impact investing space in Australia, which I hope evolves and becomes better. But I think if anyone's out there trying to raise money at the moment, it's tough, right? The reality is now is a really tough funding environment. But I think we had a really interesting lesson right at the start of our business. We knew we had to raise money to get it off the ground. And I pitched to probably 100 different individuals, whether it was accelerator programs, VCs, high net worths, and literally every single one of them said no to ZeroCo in the beginning, right? Which is why we then said, okay, we're just going to do it ourselves. I put my life savings on the line and did the first little bit, and then we went out and did a Kickstarter campaign and asked the community to come to our kind of aid. And that was a really powerful lesson that we learned from there and carried that throughout the business. And community sits at the heart of everything we do. And without plugging Birchal too hard here, we went and did an equity crowdfunding raise on Birchal this time last year, which was wildly successful, and has been so valuable for us to have 3,500 everyday Aussies that went from being believers at the beginning and backing us through buying a box of product in Kickstarter phase, to them becoming loyal customers, to now becoming business partners and co-owners of ZeroCo with me. It's a super powerful thing if you're trying to build a consumer-driven, a public-driven, people-driven solution to be able to convert your community into owners. We've definitely benefited from that. Yeah. So thanks for all the work you did to make that thing a reality in the world for Australian businesses.
No, pleasure. Thank you. But I mean, we help you tell your story. Like, that's it. Like, us as a platform, like, we only exist because of, founders like you that are out there kind of working on something cool and that have an engaging story to tell. We wouldn't exist otherwise. So.
Yeah.
Prisca.
Yeah, just quickly, my journey kind of similar to Mike. I initially invested my savings, a lot of it, into making this happen because I had conviction of the problem and the solution that we actually could add. We've gone on and closed just one round, a seed round, and that's really been focused on angels. But I can relate to your story because, again, obviously we talked to a number of VCs and impact VCs who are either, women-led or diversity-led or impact or planet. And you like, when they say no, and you're like, what is the reason? Like, so which impact business are you investing in? It's really, I'm sure you probably had the same, Peter, if you want to add to that.
Wait for Pete's opinion on this.
Jackson's opinion.
Jackson, sorry.
Well, Jackson's another story. I don't know what comes out of his mouth. So we did we did Kickstarter. We got kicked off because some other dude bucked the system with this prototype, didn't work. So we went over to Indiegogo. We raised $350,000 in 4 weeks. The stress of doing that screwed me up for 4 years where I couldn't drink coffee. I had nosebleeds. I had all this crazy shit from stress and the thing I'd never known about anxiety. Fast forward, we got a lot of attention, a lot of impact. VCs are coming at us. Hey, we love what you do, blah, blah, blah. We want to buy the company. It was really flattering, but we have this thing and we have a rule that on the wall in the office, it says no dickheads. And there's a lot of dickheads. There were some cool ones, but they didn't like us because we're too small, too this, too that, too that. Yeah. And so we realized our strength was in community, our strength was in small denominations. We found out about Birchal. We went to Birchal and we killed it with a $250 buy-in, $500 buy-in, and we raised nearly $3 million over 2 rounds. Our biggest ticket was $150,000. We have some VC and impact investors on our cap table, but they're $500 and $1,000. These are, I don't know, it's great, but it's not. But it makes me hungry. It makes me ambitious. It also shows me what we're doing wrong. How do we align to the people we want to get the big money from? And so I've been iterating the company based off the feedback. So it's frustrating, but it's not. I'm on a mission to raise 25 mil before April 23. We haven't started yet. We just started working it out, trying to work out how we're so terrified of this that we can do it. So I don't know, but so we have not a very good track record, but we're using Birchal to raise money to get vested shareholders who are lobbying the cities for our mission, which is their mission. And we're using Birchal as our seed funding proof of concept to get 10 mil or 12 mil from an impact or a VC. So there's
I think someone has a question.
Yeah, I'm going to throw the questions. The microphone around. Just go to Sorry, he walked right past you. I'm sorry, I'll get you on the next one.
Sorry, I'm fully pumped here. Eh? I'm all this adrenaline's going through me and it's coming out of my voice.
Hi.
Bashing those words out.
Just talking about impact investment, I think one of the challenges is how you make the business model. I mean, what you're doing at CB, and I love what you're doing, but the business of making money that is a return that VCs want to see is really the challenge of solving the world's problems, which is why I think you're talking about community as being such an important component. But how do you look at that in terms of fundraising now? Like, how do you make money?
We have 2 phases. We're in phase 1, which is social license. We need the communities to back our mission to then get the buy-in from the state, local and federal government. And so we sell impact, we sell data, we sell marketing equity to corporate sponsors like Ben & Jerry's, the groupie over here that attacked me on stage, IBM, this type of thing. And then from there, we use the social license to get commercial contracts with cities. But we split our company into not-for-profit and for-profit. And so funding comes through either door, and then it gets divvied out where it needs to be. There's a fine line, a very finite line that we can't cross. But if we're selling data to the United Nations or an EPA, you can't get data without commercial services. If we're selling services to a city, we get data. And so we've built this amazing circular economy of leading with data or leading with services. It's a utility. We want to keep the harbour clean. We don't want to see shit in the water. You know, this is a great harbour. And so, yeah, it took a while to get to this. We actually we scaled into 53 countries in 2 years. And it wasn't financially sustainable. It was a liability. And we stopped all that in 2020, spoke to Birchal and said, hey, we're not going to sell anything anymore. We're going to adopt software as a service, swap out the S for CBIN and find that annual recurring revenue. And so this is what we're doing.
Over there.
Thank you. First of all, thanks all for your inspiring stories. You all rock. Peter, you're not the only one, you all rock, so thank you. I've got a 2-part question. The first one really is about the barriers you'd like to see removed to fast track the growth of your businesses going forward. So what are those barriers to maybe help create a more level playing field, because you're startups and you're trying to tackle some very big systemic problems. So that's the first part of it. And the second part pertains to the term circular economy. And I want to ask you, and it's related, I think, to the first part, does the term need a major reboot? Because is it being appropriated by big businesses who essentially want to maintain business as usual and use the circular economy as a way of working at the sort of last part of the process? It's like maintaining the linear model and working sort of downstream at the post-consumer end of things.
Who wants to take that one?
I'll put up my hand to answer the second part, but if anyone wants to do the first part.
Could I just do a quick one? Because I'm really shit at multiple questions, but I've been like... and then you guys go for it. But barriers we have is governance issues, accountability issues with the leaders that we elect. And so we've worked out how to do that. We use community, social license. Circular economy, even if they're not very good at it, they're talking about it. We should be celebrating that, because if they don't listen to a woke consumer culture, they're dinosaurs and they have a short shelf life. So this greenwashing or the little bit of circular economy that they're trying to say they do, with transparency and web sleuths, they're going to get smashed if they don't fully adopt it. And it's only a matter of time before it becomes like business as usual. So that's my 2 cents on a multiple question.
Mike, did you want to take the second one?
Yeah, I take a bit of a different approach to that. I think there's a lot of companies talking a lot of bullshit, just to be straight up with you. And I think, having spent the last few years of my life thinking about this problem literally every single waking minute, and how do we actually solve the waste problem at scale? And there are too many people out there still pretending that recycling is the answer to the solution, and it is categorically not the answer. The federal government released a waste report in 2020, which showed that only 15% of all the plastic we use in Australia actually gets recycled, right? It means 85% of all the plastic we're using ends up in landfill or worse, in the environment, right? And it's even worse when we think about recycling all types of waste sources. Plastic is even worse, because plastic can only be recycled twice. Before the molecular chain breaks down, it can never be used again. So there are a lot of big forces out there, government and big business, who are perpetuating this myth that we're going to recycle our way out of this problem. All we need to do is build more recycling plants and put more recycling bins into neighbourhoods that local councils pay for, that taxpayers pay for, right? It is not going to work. It is never going to be the solution. We are not going to be able to recycle our way out of the problem. And as long as powerful interests keep talking about a linear supply chain where you make something, you use it once and you put it in the bin. As a circular economy, we are never going to solve this problem because that is not a circular model. We have to stop using things once and throwing them away. We just have to get away from this single-use culture. That is the only way we're going to solve this waste problem.
And adding to, sorry, it's really good. I just want to add to that, like a saying that I really love, and actually it's part of our wall in our office, is recycle is what you do when you can't reuse. So,
yeah.
Solid. I just want to say that I agree with Mike as well. And what I want to celebrate, though, is we're talking about it. Even if they're greenwashing, it's a topic that's on the table and they can't ignore it. And even if they're doing shit, it's actually good because it's a crowd-building thing of calling them out and putting the pressure on these people that are doing so much bullshit and just H&M and all this stuff. And they're being forced into a position where they have to pony up, or they're irrelevant and no one's going to buy their shit anymore.
100%.
Yeah, it's gotten better in the last, there are companies saying a lot of shit, but I feel like it's on the way.
Yeah.
It's on that sliding scale. It's getting better. And there are some big businesses actually doing really meaningful things in the circular economy that, because they have so much capital behind them, it's a really unique position to be in. I'm not saying this about everything, but I mean, I'm in a unique position. We take potato waste from food suppliers and create a product that can be reused. It's very unique. That's not the same. But those businesses do exist, and it can exist, and it can be profitable, and they can continue doing what they're doing. And like for us, I think we see that as our problem. Like, these are the parameters. How do we design a solution to fit within those, and how do we make that work?
Yeah. Time for one more question, just over here.
Is this on? Julia, this is a question for you. There are a lot of entrepreneurial people in the room, and a solution like yours requires R&D. So can you talk a little bit about kind of how you got connected to Monash, and I guess how you funded that research collaboration and what that meant for your business?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and I'm happy to have a chat at length about it. But initially, the research, so Geordie's a winemaker, I'm an architect. We have technical backgrounds, but not in biopolymers by any stretch of the word. We started our research by honestly looking at a list of compostable polymers and reverse engineering from there. That led us down this path of just trawling through science journals and kind of understanding what we were looking for. So it was, quite frankly, a lot of self-education before we'd kind of established our own brief. And then we sort of were able to put a project together. We actually had a friend who was working at Monash University in the Food Innovation Lab, and we just sort of had a chat to him and asked if that was something he'd be interested in. And it was. He's doing his PhD with us now, so that was a really lucky conversation. But we got a little bit of funding in the initial states. The CRCP grant, we were able to fund that initial research when we hadn't raised any money before. That was sort of our journey, but had no idea. It was just hard reading.
Awesome. All right, well, if you'll join me in thanking our panelists today.
Thanks, everyone. And now I just want to thank Matt Vitale. Thank you for that fantastic discussion, for leading that. And thank you, everyone. That was wonderful. I also just want to say as well, I think it's something we also need to know as consumers and as citizens want to ask for. And we actually need national product stewardship laws in Australia that mean that people who produce products are responsible for the life cycle of those products, right? And we also need real packaging regulation in this country. If we had 100% recycled material content packaging regulation in this country, we wouldn't be in this position. So we need to know what, as citizens, we also need to ask for to power businesses like this. Thanks so much, everybody. We're about to go to lunch, so have a great lunch break. Remember, 20 minutes before about 1:10, we're going to start screening Regenerating Australia up here, and Reece Proud from WWF will be introing that as well. So come on back a little bit early. Have a great lunch. Thanks.